I'm with Coach Tony Broring, head coach of the Northmont Thunderbolts. He's also with Coach B. We're out here at Northmont Stadium. And Coach, with the Dublin Kaufman game postponed last week, how has that affected you in preparation for Fairmont this week?
Well, it's been really tough. I mean, we had a whole week where we couldn't do anything. So when any time in football where you take a week off like that, it's a tremendous disadvantage, especially when you're trying to prepare for someone like Fairmont. So we really needed that week to get ready for them. So we got back at it yesterday a little bit, and we're going to try our best today. But it's been tough.
Well, with more than 700 yards of offense in 2 games, how has your sophomore quarterback, Courtner, performed?
Well, Deuce is a great kid, and I had him in class last year, and he runs track for me, so I've known him for quite a while, and he's done really, really well. Now he's surrounded by a level of talent, where it is built to succeed. I mean, he has a tremendous group of receivers. We have probably one of the best, if not the best, group of running backs I've ever coached in 31 years. And we have 4 of our 5 offensive linemen back. So he kind of inherited a good situation, but he's done a great job.
Your top running quarterbacks, Callahan and Staffney, how different are they as types of runners?
Well, Malachi has been with me for a long, long time. Again, he's a track guy too. And, he's quick and hits the hole with great velocity. And Bryant, what a blessing he's been. I mean, he is an outstanding Division I running back. He has great vision, sees everything on the field really well. And we really have a third guy, Davion Richardson, who's a senior too. So we really have 3. Davion hasn't got as many touches as Malachi and Bryant, but he runs really hard too. So like I mentioned previously about Deuce, when you have 3 good running backs like that, it's a 3-headed monster. It's tough for the defense to deal with, a different style each one has and brings to the table.
Okay, you evaluate your defense for us, including the top tackler, Colin Enoch.
Well, Colin's a 3-year starter. When he came up as a freshman, we thought he was going to be special. We gave him one of the special numbers here at Northmont. He wears number 27. Him, along with Xavier, who led the league in sacks last year, and Joe Taylor, our inside linebacker. There were all 3 guys back on defense this year. So we've counted on them to be the leaders of the defense, and they've done a great job. And Colin has just played so hard and so well. He's one of the better defensive linemen in the GWalk.
Regarding Fairmont, what are the keys to containing Drew Baker, something Fairmont's first 3 opponents haven't been able to do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you give it to him 30 or 40 times a game, which they do, you can't really stop him. I mean, he's going to get what he gets, So we're just hoping to limit the big plays. We don't want him to tear off any, plus 20 runs, and hopefully we can, contain Malik. I mean, the quarterback's really good too. So Dave does a good job with that option football style. They've got a great O-line. So it's a big challenge for us. Like I mentioned, we lost 8 starters on defense, and they've got everybody back on offense. So it's going to be a good test for us to see where we're at.
All right, and finally, do you consider stacking the box and daring Hillen to beat you with his arm?
Well, I think against Fairmont, no matter what you want to do, you have to put more guys in the box than normal. So we try to play with 7 or 8 in the box anyways, and count on our corners to cover man-to-man. But yeah, this week we'll have 8 or 9 in there because you just have to do that. I mean, there's no other way to defend the option. That's no different. I mean, I've been coaching in this league since 1991. So when I started in the 90s, Bob Gregg was the coach at Centerville. I think Dave played for Bob, and they ran the same offense. So we had to stack the box, in 92, 93, 94, all those years. Ron Ellery took over. They ran the same thing. For a while, Scott Clodfeller was at Beaver Creek. He ran the same style. You have to put more than they can block in the box, or you have no chance.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, and good luck on Friday.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I'm with Coach Dave Miller, head coach of the Kettering Firebirds, going into week 4 and 3 weeks of not punting yet.
Right.
We'll see what this week brings. 3-0 now after another nice win last week, defeating your first 3 opponents by a combined score of 75-14. That's very impressive. Do you have to watch out for high school kids getting overconfident, or are they still staying pretty humble?
We do our best to try to keep that in place, but they are high school kids, like you mentioned. So we remind them constantly it's about improvement, and we're not worried about scores. And of course, they're human. So, but I think they've seemed pretty focused. I mean, they should be getting ready to play who we're playing. So I think their focus is there.
The offensive line has been completely dominant to this point. Can you talk about a couple of the guys on the line that have really stood out?
Yeah, I think to start with, Caden Partnick. I mean, he's a 2-year starter. He kind of is our energy guy. When you look at just the way he goes about things and just effort that he gives on every play. He doesn't take plays off. It starts really with him, I think, more than anything. But and the rest of them collectively have done a nice job. So I think he's kind of the energizer guy, and they feed off of it. But we've got a good line this year. And they've so far, I think 2 out of the 3 weeks they've kind of reached those expectations somewhat. But so yeah, we got to get better. I mean, our pad level still needs to get lower, and feet need to get better. But it's good.
Following the offensive line, just like he does, let's talk about Drew Baker. 245 yards on 37 attempts. He seems to do a great job always moving forward. I can't remember any negative rushing plays. Have there been any?
No, I don't think with him. I think our negative plays were misreads a couple times, but he gets his positive yards. He comes off the ball. He's not an overwhelmingly big kid, but he's extremely explosive when he comes off the ball, and his legs are always going. So you combine that with a good line, and I'll throw out another name. We were talking about our line. I think our Z-back, AJ Mullen, he's done a great job for us this year. Really all 3 games. He does a tremendous job blocking. So our halfbacks are expected to block. That's kind of what they know when they come in. It's blocking first, and then if I get a couple carries, great. But they do a really good job with that, being humble and doing what we need them to do up front for us too.
Soso Poe had a few big runs, had a beautiful touchdown that got called back because of a penalty. He didn't get much work until late in the game. Is that by design to use his great speed after the defenses have been a little bit beaten up and tired?
No, it's actually really up to Soso. He's a sophomore. He's a great kid. Has a really infectious personality, but he needs to mature. I talked about it last week. There was no reason why he shouldn't have been in the lineup more. He chose that himself based on the week of practice. And we talk to our guys all the time about you got to come every day and practice. And he wasn't. Coach Schwartz was not happy with him, so he did get sprinkled in there a little bit. Hopefully this week's better, and he gets sprinkled in a little more.
CJ came into the game averaging 400 yards of total offense through their first 2 games. Your defense only allowed 4 first downs and 84 yards of total offense in the game. What were you most pleased with defensively?
Well, they set the tone early. I think there was a play or two there early on that it looked pretty impressive on film. We came up and they ran a handoff, and our guys swarmed to the ball, and I think we did a good job of that. That's what's impressive. Had one of my former players that I coached up at Covington, who was an all-state linebacker, watched it and said that was what impressed him the most. He knows what he's looking at. So he basically said they're flying all over the place, and when you watch the film, they do that, and we need to continue to get better. We give up the touchdown there late, which was disappointing. I think we could have had a shutout, but they're playing really well right now.
So who is your punter? Does the team actually just not want him to play this year?
I'm not going to say. We've got a couple guys actually that could punt, and right now it's a secret or a mystery. So we'll see.
All right. Turning to this week at with Northmont. They didn't play last week, but through their first 2 weeks, they looked good, especially on offense, where they were first in the GWalk, averaging 383 yards a game. What is the key to disrupting their offense?
Yeah, they're just explosive. They've got athletes all over the place. You know, it's a couple really good wideouts. You know, they're D1 type guys. They've got 2 running backs this year. You know, possibly a third. You know, the 2 that they featured that are running the ball really well. They're both really good players. And the quarterback's, you know, he's young, but in typical Northmont fashion, you know, he's completing about 62% of his passes, and he adds kind of another element with his speed. They're really well coached. I mean, Coach Broring does a great job with them up there, you know, and his staff, and they're again. I think it's kind of a similar situation to last week. You know, we got to try to minimize their opportunities. You know, we've done that somewhat in the past couple of years, but you know, really their defense has done very well against us, and so we are definitely focused on that this week, and just trying to keep their offense off the field.
Northmont defensively is also first in the GWalk in rushing yards, allowing only 48 yards in a game, while you average 295 yards a game on the ground. Something has to give there. Do you think your offense will have any trouble moving the ball this week?
Absolutely. You know, I think they're kind of built for what we do. You know, Coach Broring, they ran the triple when he was up in South, so he knows it, and his defensive guys really understand it. They make it tough on us. They make us have to work, and you know, we talk about it constantly. That's what we're built for. But you know, we've driven on them, but then we've also had a lot of 3 and outs. You know, so they're good. You know, they do a good job. They have athletes all over the place, like I said, and you know, well coached. So that's a tough formula. You know, we're 0-3 against them the last 3 years. So,
all right. Final question. After this week, you'll go on the road for 4 of the last 6 games as a regular season. Can you talk about the challenges of playing away as compared to here at Rush Stadium?
Well, it's been really nice, you know, to have 4 home games. You know, the first one, I guess technically it's always home because it's Alter, but you know, that's nice to be able to play at your own place. You know, but we also scrimmaged on the road. We went to Middletown, you know, so our kids are used to that. I don't think that'll be a big deal, especially because our road trips are really close. You know, we're playing our neighboring schools. It's Beaver Creek, Centerville, Northmont, Springboro, and Miamisburg.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of the way you'd script it if you could. So it's a good schedule this year as far as that goes.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with me again today, and good luck on Friday.
Thanks, Norm. Appreciate it.